everyone. Happy March. Welcome to SCARE, to our virtual space once again. I'm Taylor. I'm the Youth Programs Coordinator here at SCARE, and I work directly with our youth tutoring as well. But today we are here to kick off Momentum 2.2, which is the second part in our Momentum Career Training series in this round of it. So the part one was released in December. So if you haven't seen it already, I recommend going back and viewing that. It's got some great information. And if you're new altogether, we also have Momentum 1.0. So the first round of our career training series that was released all last year. And that's available on our YouTube as well. So I recommend going back and watching that. Tons of great information on all of those. And so today for Momentum 2.2, we are kicking it off with personal dynamics. And we're going to cover kind of a handful of topics around this subject. So like I said, this is only part 2 in our 4-part career training series. So there's much more to come. But before we get into it, I want to review the theme for Momentum, the definition, and why we chose this as our overall theme for this career training series. Momentum is movement. Momentum is energy. When movement and energy meet, they become your vision. As you visualize your future, your visions become your first steps. First steps become goals that you create and you can realistically achieve because you set your pace. You are the momentum for your focus, your passion, your goals for your family. As you create your momentum, you naturally begin to take steps needed to visualize your goals as actions and positive energy for your future. Be kind to yourself. And so I just wanted to give one example of momentum, and we've covered some other ones in some of the previous videos, but one example might be comparing something like a pebble versus a boulder, right? So for example, if you're taking a pebble and trying to roll it down a hill, it's probably going to go pretty slow, might not even go very far. Once it hits some flowers, maybe some other rocks, it's going to get stopped pretty easily. But on the other hand, if you were to try to push a boulder down a hill, it's got a lot more strength to it. So this boulder is going to go faster, it's going to go further, and it's going to be really hard to stop, right? So if this boulder hits some plants and some other rocks, it might just tumble right over it, keep going until it gets all the way down the hill. When we're talking about momentum and reaching your goals, when you first start, you might feel like a pebble, right? So you might feel like you don't have that strength or maybe all the skills and support to really roll down this hill without things stopping you. You might encounter some obstacles and it feels like it stops you pretty easily. But once you get into the momentum of it and you start to maybe find your support, learn some more, get more skills, you'll start to become a boulder and you'll be able to gain the momentum. And once you start hitting these other obstacles, those are no longer going to feel very big anymore. You're going to be able to go right over those and those are not going to stop you. And so as you build momentum and as you build this whole support system around you, you're going to become an unstoppable boulder. And then also for Momentum 2.0, I know some of it's already been released, so I wanted to just talk about maybe some of the topics we've covered and then what you can expect for Momentum 2.0 also. So as I mentioned before, the first part in this round of our Momentum Career Training series, it was released in December of 2022, and that was on keeping it professional. And so today, in March of 2023, we are going to be covering personal dynamics. And then some of the ones you can look forward to in this round of Momentum. In June 2023, you can expect to hear about, are you ready for your dream job? And in September, you can meet the employees. So if you were around for Momentum 1.0, you might remember that we had one of the workshops on Meet the Employers. You got to hear from different employers what they were looking for in candidates and people that they were trying to hire. So the skills and really what made them hire the people that they chose. So this time we're going to do something a little different. We're going to turn it around and we want to hear from the employees. We're going to hear from people what they look for in a company, what they look for in a job, and it's just how they choose their different career options. And so before we get into personal dynamics for today, I do want to review some of the topics covered in the previous one in Keeping It Professional. So some of the topics covered were office work speak, so inter-office communication, and that dealt with things like how to have clear communication with your coworkers, supervisors, and really anyone else you're dealing with in the workplace, whether it's through text, email, phone calls, in person. There's different ways to communicate and different ways to be a good communicator, a good listener, and actually have like effective communication. It also covered things like appropriate communication. So making sure that you're using some appropriate language, sharing topics that are appropriate to the workplace, things like that, as well as navigating conflict effectively. So if something comes up in the workplace, how to use communication in a very healthy way to be able to navigate the conflict and maybe find a solution that works for you and whoever's involved. We also talked about information breach, social media accounts, and this covered topics like protecting your social media information, adjusting privacy settings and how to do that. So you might have some social media that's on public or private, and that's going to change who's able to view your social media accounts. And then also how social media can be used in your career and how it can affect your career. So if you have a public social media account and you have some inappropriate information or like content on there, it could affect your career. The potential employer might see that and it can affect maybe that opportunity. But on the reverse of it too, if you're using social media into something that you're passionate about with maybe something that aligns with your career goals, it can really connect you and help you network to other people in the field. And it can show potential employers maybe some of the things that you're up to. So it can be used positively as well. We also talked about time management, specifically time management to ease stress. So, I mean, we're all busy people, right? So how to kind of like maybe make the best use of our time and organize it that way. And so we went over some techniques to manage time and tasks, whether it's things like planners and to-do lists, how to prioritize those tasks and know exactly what's important, what is like the things that need to be done immediately, maybe some things that can wait or that aren't really super important that you'd like to maybe do. And we also covered organizing your schedule. And so whether it is like a planner or calendar, some type of thing to keep you in your routine, not only yours, maybe some ways to organize the schedule for your family, for your kids, in a way that works for everyone. And lastly, we covered topics on staying connected and how to just keep learning, right? So whether you're in school or not, or you've gotten a job and you're already on the job, we never need to stop learning. Like we should always be learning. And so we just talked about topics on like continuous learning, whether it's through just other resources available to us, like workshops or information on the internet now, or through experiences, what you learn from other people around you. And there's just a lot of different types of learning as well. And so it could just be like doing some hands-on experiential learning, again, just having these conversations with people and also just learning with others, right? The important part is that we don't stop learning, that we're always improving ourselves, getting new skills, and really just like keeping our brain sharp that way. And so now into the good stuff for today's topics, it is going to be focused on personal dynamics and cover things like your personal strengths, how to know your strengths, and maybe the people around you, how they can help you understand your strengths and how that can help you out in maybe your relationships with others around you. We're going to talk about things like professional strengths and how that can affect your career and how you can use that to your advantage as well. How to expand your job options as well. How to know like more about credit scores, check your credit, what that all means, and some tips for good credit as well. You're going to hear from some of my great colleagues today on all of those. And everyone enjoy. So there is a link in the description box below for the survey. So please tell us what you'd like to see in some of the future trainings. Let us know how this training went. We really do appreciate the feedback. So please fill out the survey in the description box below. But I hope you enjoy the rest of this training. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kenz Martin, and I'm the social work intern at SCARE this year. I am in the Masters of Social Work program at San Diego State University, and I've been so grateful that I've had the opportunity to be here learning and growing with the SCARE community. And also feeling really grateful that part of my role is to offer trainings like this one today, where we're going to be talking about identifying and building our strengths. So I hope that this is helpful for you all. And if you ever have specific topics or things that you think could be really helpful for you, please feel free to reach out and let us know because we always want to make sure that we're going over topics that are really supportive. So thank you for your time today and let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I want to acknowledge is that thinking about our own strengths and kind of identifying them can be really hard to do. Um, not all of us are really taught how to look for those strengths and to name them and to really build ourselves up in that way. And some of that, can be just kind of greater society and different pressures, the way that our world sometimes can really focus on specific things or focus on problems rather than strengths. And so that's something we kind of want to challenge today and take a harder look at, what are our strengths and how can we use them to support us when we're moving forward with things like jobs, um, looking, towards new parts of your life that you want to explore, new endeavors. And another, reason that we may struggle with identifying our strengths is sometimes as we're growing up, our families may not have the capacity to affirm us in that way, to really encourage us and build up, recognition of those qualities in ourselves. And that, likely is at no fault of your family, but more so just the different pressures and responsibilities that we all are navigating. And so as we get older, we can really take responsibility for ourselves and start to look within and find these strengths and really affirm ourselves. So, yeah, so one way that we can start by doing this is through self-reflection. It can be difficult to find free time, but even taking 5 minutes or, you know, watching this video, you are putting in that time for yourself and to really have this opportunity to reflect and think about what are the things that make us the unique and wonderful person that we are? How do we work well with others? What are those strengths and qualities that make us stand out? And so we can use this opportunity today to self-reflect. And I also would encourage you to maybe try to take some time throughout the week to begin that self-reflection process more consistently. You could journal, you could write things down, um, or even just create a space for yourself where maybe you're listening to calming music, drinking, a preferred drink, some hot tea, something that helps you feel calm and grounded, and then really reflect on these things and use it as an opportunity to grow. Another way that we can identify our strengths is discussing with trusted loved ones. So, the people in our lives who care for us deeply and want to see us succeed, we may consider friends, family, people that you know at school or work, all different kinds of people who you trust to have an open conversation with. Sometimes you'd be surprised. It can be difficult for us to identify them within ourselves, but when it comes to naming qualities about a friend or a loved one, we might have an easier time, and you might find that people are able to name qualities about yourself that you've never even really thought of. So that can be a nice way to really identify some personal strengths. And the last part is just practicing, taking that time and reflecting. And we're going to do an activity now where we can look at a chart. and kind of, take this moment to think about the chart says circle your strengths from the choices below or add your own at the bottom. And so if you have a piece of paper, we can take a moment here. Feel free to get a piece of paper, something to write with, and you can start looking through these list of strengths and trying to identify, does that resonate with me? Do I see myself, within this strength? Is there a way that this relates to how I, show up in conversation with people, in my interactions, in the way that I present myself at school or work or any other settings, when you come in, if you ever come into SCARE to the resource center, do you notice any of these qualities in yourself? And try to, I don't know, I would say try to maybe pick out 4 or 5 qualities. And if that's too hard, start with 2. Pick out 2 things that you feel really resonate with yourself. So as I'm looking through this list, I'm thinking one quality that I have could be assertiveness. So I make it a priority to be assertive in a respectful way where I advocate for my needs and the needs of others. And I show up assertively within communication with others and in the way that I ask for things and the way that, I kind of walk in the world. Another quality that I might pick out in myself is empathy or the ability to really engage in perspective taking, thinking about, wow, what would that situation be like from another person's perspective? How can I listen and show up in a kind, compassionate way where I truly, help that person to feel heard and valued and um, held in that moment? And so go ahead and take a minute here to kind of look through these qualities and see what strengths resonate with you. Feel free to pause the video if you'd like to take more time or come back to it. It's definitely an activity that you could do anytime. You could do this by yourself. You could do it with others. That's kind of a conversation starter. And it could be a way for a positive connection too, to relate with people and share. Okay. Thank you for taking the time to look through this. So, when we think about building ourselves up for new opportunities when it comes to work, relationships, new school, endeavors, anything really, one way that we can build on our strengths and really kind of, increase our self-esteem and help us to feel more capable, more ready is to seek healthy affirmations, feedback, and reflections. So, we've all been in situations where someone gives you feedback and maybe it resonates with you. Maybe you think, yeah, this is something that I want to try doing in my life. Maybe I want to improve on this. And that would be healthy feedback. If it feels like it resonates with you, it's positive, there's something you can do to improve, a specific way that you can kind of try to change something to be more supportive or to fit better in whatever situation it is. And there's also unhealthy and unhelpful feedback. And that might be when it feels like you're just kind of being put down, that maybe the feedback feels more just like a criticism. It's negative. It doesn't feel like there's a way that you can use that feedback to grow. Maybe it just feels more like a put down. And so when we're trying to build ourselves up, we need to start thinking critically, is this person offering me healthy, helpful feedback or reflections? Or is it unhealthy and unhelpful? And so we really have to use, some critical thinking to reflect on situations. It can be difficult, we all feel defensive sometimes when we're given feedback, and maybe it hurts us a little because we're trying our best, and we were really trying to do the best thing in that situation, and it wasn't received the way we wanted. Well, we can look at that feedback. We can try to let the defensiveness down a little bit and think, can I use this feedback as a way to grow? Can I build myself up using it? Are there direct actions that I can take to change my behavior in a way that's more aligned with how I want to present myself, with how I want to be received by others? And yeah, and we can really think about that and use it as a way to discern, is this helpful or is it unhelpful? We don't want to focus too much on unhelpful feedback. When we really start thinking negatively about ourselves, about others, it can be difficult. And we want to focus on growing our healthy voice. So that healthy voice is your own internal dialogue where you're thinking in a kind, compassionate, self-loving way. So it's that voice in your head that's saying, you can do this. You've got it. You tried really hard, and this time it didn't work out, but you can try again. It could be that voice that's taking people's helpful feedback and saying, okay, next time I can listen more closely. I can pay attention to those details that I missed. Next time I can set an alarm so that I wake up on time and I'm ready to go. I can set an alarm so that I can have a good, healthy breakfast before I start my day, and that might help me succeed. And so we can grow our healthy voice through seeking out these healthy feedback through our own reflections. So when we reflect on our actions, the way that we present, for interviews, in conversations, in relationships, and that could be all kinds of relationships with coworkers, your employers, loved ones, friends. We can reflect, do I like how I acted? Did it support the kind of connections that I want? And we can grow our healthy voice by focusing on the positive things and finding ways to maybe reframe some negative thoughts. So we might find ourselves thinking, wow, I just really messed that up. I didn't talk the way that I want to. I couldn't even get my words out. I felt really frustrated with how that went. And instead, we can reframe it to think, that was a really difficult situation. And I tried really hard. I tried my best. I did the best that I could. And next time, I want to really focus on preparing more so that when I get to that interview, I feel like I can communicate, that I can speak in the way that I want to. I want to make sure that I have my resume ready. So next time, I'm going to spend some time beforehand, maybe the day before, really making sure that my resume looks good because I can do this. I can take another shot at it. And so those are some different ways that we can really grow that healthy voice by using our own internal reflections and also hearing those, healthy feedback and affirmations from others. When someone tells you, you did a really good job, it wouldn't hurt to tell yourself, wow, so and so said, I did a really good job. I'm proud of myself. They really think that I'm doing my best, and that's important. That means a lot to me. So when we're preparing for interviews and stressful workplace situations, because they happen, we all end up with different amounts of stress in our lives, and it's just, how it is. And so when we're preparing for these things, how can we use that healthy voice to really get us ready? Some of the examples we were talking about before, or when you're going into an interview, using a lot of that healthy voice talk. I'm ready for this. I prepared. I looked into the organization and I'm ready to really talk with them about how I think I would be a good fit. Some simple statements like, I'm a resilient person. It's taken a lot for me to get here. I've worked really hard, and this is my chance to show people who I am and what I'm about. You know, we all have nerves, but sometimes, some people would argue that when we're nervous, it's because something's important to us. If we're a little nervous, there's an amount of healthy nerves where you might be feeling nervous because this job interview or this workplace relationship with your coworker is really important to you and you want to present yourself in the best way that you can. And so those little bit of nerves can help us to get ready, help us to feel, motivated to set that alarm, to get up early, to go over your resume again before you show up, to speak to yourself in that healthy, kind, compassionate voice so that you feel empowered by yourself before you go into this situation. Another thing to think about when we're thinking about our strengths and the different job opportunities or educational opportunities that we're going into is how can we align our strengths with our job interests? So, some of those strengths you were thinking about earlier, um, really kind of try to reflect on them and think about how might this align well or fit well with the job I'm interested in. So for myself, a personal example I can give is that I have been told by others before that I am a good listener. And so when I considered different professions and things that I wanted to do, and I thought of social work, I thought about how, as a social worker, it's really important to be able to sit and listen to people to ensure that people feel heard. And so recognizing that strength that I have of being a good listener and being empathetic and compassionate really aligns with this career that I want to do of being a social worker. You can think about the different strengths you see in yourself, and you can also think about those strengths that others have highlighted in you. So maybe someone has told you that you're very dependable, you're reliable. They know that if they ever need something, they can depend on you. That's a wonderful quality for a lot of different jobs, to be there on time, to be consistent. So, some examples we might think of are if you were going to work in some kind of customer service, like retail, a food service position, any job really that involves, uh, working with people, or even just considering working with your coworkers and your employers. Some good qualities or strengths that we can think of are kindness, honesty, social awareness. So being able to pick up on the cues of the people around you. Are you able to see, oh, it seems like this person has a little bit of time. This might be a good time to go and ask the questions that I have of my boss, or scheduling a meeting. Having flexibility, being able to go in and be flexible in what your roles are for the day. Maybe some days you're working the cash register, and other days you're helping stock things. So having that flexibility, cooperation, openness to collaboration with others. Some of those, strengths might include really good communication skills, being open to others, showing them that you want to work with them by communicating clearly and considerately. Another big quality that could be helpful, especially with customer service, is patience. When we're working with people, We need to find ways to be patient and listen. And so if anyone's ever told you, wow, you're such a patient person, that could be another good strength to be thinking of um, for the different kinds of jobs you might be interested in. One thing that I have found really, really helpful whenever I'm preparing for jobs is I have my resume, and I also, after I've looked into the job, maybe looked at their website, looked at any kind of materials that they have online or in their job posting, what are they looking for? And then seeing how does my experience or my strengths, my different qualities align with what they're looking for. So, for example, if they say that they're looking for someone who is able to be on time and is dedicated to their job, I might look at my resume and say, when I did this position, I know I was on time every day. And during the interview, I might highlight one way that I think I fit in really well with this role is that I'm reliable and I'm very dependable. I come on time and I'm always prepared and open to new tasks. And that way, during an interview, when you're aligning your qualities and your experience with their job, it's a really good way of showing your commitment to, to the position at hand, that you really do want to see yourself within this role and that you've already taken the time to align yourself. And I think that that is really helpful whenever you're looking at different jobs. So, one way that we can do that is doing a little bit of a strengths exploration exercise. So, up here in this box, it says list the strengths you possess that help you in your profession. So, it could be profession, it could be in your education, it could be in your relationships. This doesn't have to be within a job role. If you're not currently working, or maybe you haven't had a job before, maybe it's been a long time since you've been, in the job market, then think about just other strengths, that you utilize in different areas of your life and how they might be really helpful in your profession. You can look back on that list that you made earlier of drawing out the different strengths you saw in yourself from the list we looked at. And just take a moment, to think, what strengths do I have that would help me within this profession? So then, once you've taken the time to do that, describe a specific time your strengths were able to help you in your profession. So the reason that we want to do this is that by being specific, by writing a specific statement, it can really help us to talk about our strengths in a way that is communicated well with others. So one example could be, I think that one of my strengths is having great attention to detail. So I really pay attention when people are talking to me. If someone's telling me something they need me to do, I might write down notes. And so a specific example I could give, when I was preparing to present this workshop, I paid I paid a lot of attention to the details of what needed to be included, and I took notes to help me make sure that I attended to every detail. So that could be a specific example for me that my strength of attention to detail has helped me as a social worker. Once you've taken the time to do that, try to describe 2 new ways you could use your strengths in your professional life. And again, if right now you are still building up towards a professional life, or you're not interested, in that route right now, but you're looking at education as your profession because education can be a full-time job. So if you're looking at education or you're really focusing in on your relationships, try to think of 2 new ways that you could use your strengths in that area of your life. And this could take some creativity, it might be something that you want to talk about with others, really reflect on what's important to you and how you want to move forward. Yeah. So thank you guys so much for your time today. I really appreciated it. And I hope that this was helpful for you. If you ever want to talk more about this or you'd like resources or more support, please feel free to come by the Resource Center at SCARE. And, we can sit down and try to work with you on different ways to incorporate things like this. I know it can be difficult, especially when it's new territory, and we could all use a little bit more support in life. So please feel free to always come by the Resource Center. We love it when people come in, and I hope that you all take care and good luck in your future endeavors.
Hello, my name is Michelle O'Quinn. I'm the job developer for Scare El Cajon. Today I'm presenting you with your career toolbox. These are the tools that you probably already have in your career toolbox that you're just not aware of. Here at Scare, I provide my participants with career assessments. I utilize the ONET, which is a interest questionnaire, a career interest questionnaire. Also, we do career exploration. I help out my participants with their resume and cover letter. I do job tracking, applications, and mock interviews. Come and see me. So today on our agenda, we'll be looking at soft skills, hard skills. What exactly are those? Education versus experience. A lot of times when we're looking at jobs, or I have clients who are looking at employment and they get intimidated by the education portion. No need. Sometimes employers will say, that this is what they prefer. Just because it says preferred doesn't mean that that you're out technically. That's just a preference. So watching out for those things, experience and trainability. So what are hard skills? Hard skills are basically those skills that we learn in a trade school, in a college, or somewhere else. Language knowledge, especially living in California, basic Spanish. A lot of employers are looking for that because of our high Latino population. Hard skills are also degrees, any apprenticeship certificates that you might have received, any other certificates that you might have, whether that's CPR, leadership, management skills. There are certificates for those. Another hard skill is accounting, typing, getting a typing certificate, that could be helpful. Machine operation, so depending on what area or job career path that you're going for, you will have to list on your resume like what machines you've worked with or what machines you have knowledge about. Programming language, so if you're going into something that has to do with computers, the employers want to know what programs you're familiar with, your software knowledge. So in different admin pathways, there are different software that people who are behind the desk and on the computer that they have to work with. So not all programs are the same. And they do require you to be a little, literate in that software knowledge. But then again, as we went over in the agenda, that's where trainability comes into play. So just because you're not aware of that particular software, some employers are actually willing to train you. So that's where that conversation of, when you're looking at the job listing and it says preferred skills, doesn't necessarily mean, that the buck stops at that preference, that you could still get that job if you're trainable and willing to be trained. And that would be something that you might want to mention in the job interview. Also in your toolbox, you need soft skills. So this is something that you need. Your hard skills are something that you can attain. And then your soft skills are just, something that you need. So communication skills, flexibility, self-discipline, self-reflection, teamwork, time management, some empathy, and the ability to take criticism. In the world of hiring, some of you may know, but I was a program director for almost 20 years. I hired almost 180 employees. And so depending on what the position was that I had listed, I would be looking for different things. So there are some positions that require, you to have a plethora of knowledge. As you see, knowledge and experience kind of look a little bit different. So with knowledge, sometimes I would prefer to have somebody that was just out of school and may know the latest software, may know the latest techniques in that particular field. And so their knowledge would be beneficial to me because I would pair them up with somebody that had experience. And so as you see on the experience side, the person who has experience, they're able to connect the dots. Why? Because they've been hands-on. They can see like what could happen and prevent things from happening because they've seen it already, been there, done that. That's where that concept comes from. So the person with knowledge, and if you pair them up with someone with experience, like it works like magic. So some employers may prefer somebody with experience, somebody that's already, so like let's say that you have a company or a business where you have all these people with all this knowledge, but they do not know how to put it all together. So then you throw somebody in the bunch that has experience and they show them how to connect all their knowledge to make it work and be productive for their company. So that's why I say, like, when you're looking at these job listings, just because you don't have the knowledge doesn't mean that you can't be trained. And experience, and without the knowledge, sometimes employers want the person that has experience. It just depends on what the listing is for. And then also too, I kind of have to throw this out there. When it comes to like knowledge and like the hard skills versus the soft skills, you might have somebody who has just all this knowledge and all these hard skills, but they lack the social skills, they lack communication, and so they're not able to convey the knowledge that they know, the knowledge that they have, or that they lack the ability to have teamwork, and so they may not be a good fit for the company. So just because you have all this knowledge, it doesn't mean that that you're a good fit. It just means that you have a lot of knowledge. You just don't know how to share Another tool in your toolbox that employers look for is professionalism, and to believe that you and your work are important. And with that attitude, that positive attitude, it shows. If you believe in yourself and you believe that your work is important, then you'll produce more. You'll have better production because you have pride in your work and what you do. Show that you enjoy your work. And I cannot count how many times I go into this one store and there's this guy and you can just tell he hates his job. He hates his job. And so I won't even let him bag my groceries. But yeah, just show that you enjoy your work. It not only, it's not only an expression that you're showing your employer, but it's also something that an energy that you're giving off to the people that you serve. Think before you speak, and our words we can't take back. So before you put it out there, make sure you think about it. Not everything has to be said. You can keep some things to yourself. So think before you speak. Also another quote to put out there is that people may not know exactly what you said, but they know exactly how you make them feel. Do not gossip. So talking behind coworkers' backs and spreading rumors and causing rifts and trying to divide people into groups, like all this does is make your work environment uncomfortable. It makes it uncomfortable for everybody else that has to be there. Eventually, when it comes out that you're the gossiper, it's going to be uncomfortable for you. And we're with our coworkers more than we are with our own family. So why not make your work environment comfortable, in a positive environment? Things grow in positivity. Your company will grow. Your relationship at work will grow in a positive environment. It says do not complain. Pointing out things that could be better with a solution, not necessarily complaining. Any 2-year-old can criticize and tear something down and point out everything that's wrong. But it takes another personality to be able to say, okay, this is what's wrong, but this is how I think we can fix it. So employers appreciate when you can not only identify that there is a problem, but then you can also identify a solution. So just be solution-minded, not so much like trying to find problems left and right, but find a solution as well. Be enthusiastic, considerate, cooperative, and courteous. So what entails having a positive attitude? It's being optimistic and remaining hopeful and expecting good to happen. This is not what it always looks like, but that's what it feels like on the inside. A few habits to develop is have an attitude of gratitude. So this attitude of gratitude kind of starts from the top down. So like if you are in charge of other people, it's just being grateful, letting the people that you work for know how grateful you are that, that they step up, or that they took something on for you, or maybe you weren't feeling well and, they kind of put in an extra work, to try to cover you because they know that you're not feeling well. But just, letting other people that know that you're grateful, don't take it personal. Sometimes people are having a bad day or a bad week or a bad month. So maybe that, they have things going on in in their own life outside of work that is taking up brain space, and they're really short because they really don't have the mental space to just deal. Like they're just, they have so much going on. So just don't take it personal. And it just could be that you came to them after they just had a spat with someone else, and they haven't had a second to cool off. But just always just don't take it personal. Realize what part is your energy and what energy does not belong to you. And that's very important, just knowing what energy doesn't belong to you, and you don't have to accept that energy. Let them keep it. Be happy for others, and not everyone is a competitor. In the workspace, if you go to a certain Ross and that Ross is always dirty, they're looking at that Ross and everyone who works there as you guys are dirty and you don't clean up your Ross. So they're not looking at the Ross as individual people and what individual people have contributed and what they have done and what they no. They're looking at you as a unit. And so when you're working together as a team, you need to be happy for your teammates. Not compete with them, not look at them as somebody that you need to berate and put down and whatnot. We're all, if you're in a business setting, or if you're in a workplace, everyone's looking at that workplace as a whole unit, not one individual or two individuals. Nobody knows what's going on behind the scenes. So that's the way that you need to see that you guys are presenting yourself. And it's not about you. It's not an individual thing. You guys all work together. Adjust your perspective. And again, just having a positive attitude. So like when you're looking for something negative, you're going to find what you're looking for. So if you're looking, for example, if you're looking for somebody to be crazy, then every little thing that they do, you're going to see as crazy. So if you're looking for positive moments and joyful moments, you're going to find joyful moments. If you're looking for positivity in your workplace and what's so great about your job, you're going to find all the things that are so great about your job. But if you're looking for negative things about your job, you're going to find negative things about your job. So whatever you're looking for, that's exactly what you're going to find, because that's what you're focused on. So adjust your perspective a little bit to develop those, positive attitudes, those positive perspectives. Just look for the good things in your employment, in your work environment, in other people. Don't always look for the negative things in other people. Try to look for the good things in other people. Also, too, be kind to yourself. Look for the good things in yourself. Be connected to your group. And again, sometimes, we're not in a correct mind space. And, we might have coworkers that have a lot of things going on. But, if we can help them get connected and so that they can contribute to whatever the group project is, then, we need to have some empathy, and try to walk them from where they're at to where they need to be, and to get them on the same page, because again, it's about us and not about one individual. It's about the collective. The results of having a positive attitude is that there's better performance. So as an employer, you'll get better performance from your employees. As a person, a result of having a positive attitude is that you will have better production. A positive attitude stimulates your brain, it improves your focus. A positive attitude can increase engagement between coworkers and your team. If you have a positive attitude, like you're more approachable, you build stronger relationships, and that you're more alert. Also, having a positive attitude helps you overcome challenges. You become more resilient, and you have more optimism. Everyone will not have a positive attitude all the time. So what can you do? So, eventually you'll come into a space where you're with someone who's just not positive. No matter how much optimism you give them, they're just not. So some things that you can do, and a skill that you can have in your toolbox, is just to be intentional with your time, know what you're going to address with this person, get to the point, and get out. Be diligent with your space and your time. And so you'll find that this is where that communication skill comes into play, because at this point you need to make sure that you set, your own boundaries. And just, for example, like let's say that you have a large workload and then someone comes to give you another project to do. At that time, you would need to express that I have a lot on my plate right now. I'll get to it later, but if you need it done right now, you might want to look for someone else to do it and to address it because I'm doing something else. So it's just being able to express yourself and to communicate and have healthy boundaries when someone is coming to you. And then carry empathy and compassion for others, and just knowing that, like, if someone else is not in a good space, that it's their energy. If you can help or if you can console, and it's not your job, but you can. That's where that empathy and compassion comes from. But if not, just giving them that space, just so that they can deal with whatever it is that they're going through. And also, too, just don't take their negativity personal. Something else to have in your toolbox is trainability. Trainability is the ability to learn, or the willingness to learn. And that's where these soft skills come into hand. So you'll use your communication skills to communicate, like when you don't understand how to do a job. And then flexibility, sometimes because we don't understand how to do something, or that we're learning how to do something that's very new to us, being flexible and coming outside of our comfort zone. Also, too, another soft skill was teamwork. And so knowing how to work with a team, being able to understand the culture of that team, because these are new people that you're depending on. So just knowing how to navigate and work through your new work culture. And then criticism, because as we're learning and we're training and we're developing these skills, we're going to be given critiques and what we might have done wrong, or something that might need to change. And just to be able to accept that criticism and to make those little tweaks and those little changes, just so that we can make sure that we're doing the job correctly. So when you start your employment, you'll go through an orientation where you'll learn about the corporate culture, the company mission, their vision, their values, the organizational structure, who to go to, your leadership team. You'll learn about the policies, administrative procedures. That's when you'll get like your company email if they have one, new hire paperwork, and they'll talk to you about your benefit plans. And then after orientation, you'll usually move over to onboarding. That's when you'll discuss your needs as a new employee, access to information and skills. So you might get a handbook on the different programs that they work with, or the technical aspects of the job, improvement of work performance. So how to do your job better, or like, this is where our company is now, and this is where the company wants to be. So these are the improvements or the steps to improvement that we're trying to make. You'll learn as you're learning the corporate culture. That's when you'll probably, start engaging with your coworkers and employees, and then you'll learn about the department's goals. So as you see, like, your soft skills are just as important as your hard skills when you're trying to obtain a job. So the employer may be looking for someone with great communication skills and can communicate very well with the rest of the team. Someone who's flexible and is able to go outside of their comfort zone to learn new skills, different ways of doing things, and they're flexible about that. Whereas if you had an employee who's been doing the same thing the same way for like 20 years, they may not be so flexible. So having those soft skills and flexibility is important. Someone who has self-discipline and self-reflection, because that employee is going to be, they take responsibility for themselves, which is great, because as an employer, like, it just gets so tiresome when you have someone that's always blaming someone else instead of taking responsibility for themselves and saying, like, yeah, I messed up, or like, they do some self-reflection, like, oh, okay, I could have done it better this other way. Another soft skill is like being able to work with the team, instead of bringing someone in who wants to divide the team, and it's just like team so-and-so and team so-and-so. Like, nobody needs that. Especially when you're just one organization, you just need one team. There's nothing like a workplace turned into an episode of Mean Girls. Time management, empathy, and the ability to accept criticism, all those soft skills, and there's a lot more different soft. I would advise you to just, Google it, soft skills, and just see what's there, read it. Do you have those soft skills? How can you develop that? Also too, like, YouTube is very useful. Like, if you can learn how to build a chicken coop, also YouTube, you can learn how to build stuff. And one of the major things to have in your toolbox is just you. You're who you are. Just always remember just to be yourself, and that's the bottom. No one's asking you. Employers are not asking you to change. They're not asking you to change who you are. Just be who you are. Develop those soft skills. Don't shy away from an employer's preferences when looking for a job. And some of these you have skills in your toolbox, and those are those soft skills. The hard skills, those are just extra shiny tools that you have in your toolbox, and you can get training and certificate. I would advise you to go to Career One Stop, and you can look for trainings there. And you know, a certificate can't hurt. You know, it can help. But yeah, so these are the tools in your career toolbox. And thank you for joining me. And my name is Michelle O'Quinn.
Hi, everybody. We're going to be talking about credit, credit scores, how you can protect your credit score, how you can protect yourself from identity theft, as well as what credit does for you, how it can hurt you, how it can help you, and everything in between. All right. So what is credit? So credit is part of your financial power. It helps you get the things you need now, like a loan for a car or a credit card based on your promise to pay later. Working to improve your credit helps to ensure you'll qualify for loans when you need them. So there's two different types that you'll find most prominently for making credit. And that's going to be your installment loans, which is basically money that is loaned to you for use for a specific item. And that would be a really great example of like an auto loan. Or revolving credit. And this type of credit you can keep using after paying it off. You can make purchases with it as long as the balance stays under the credit limit. And a good example of that would be a credit card. But just be aware that not all credit cards are the same. You want to explore all the pros and cons of credit cards when choosing the right one for you. Let's talk a little bit deeper about credit cards. There are three things you need to pay attention to specifically when looking at credit cards. That's going to be your interest rates, your fees, and your credit limit. An interest rate is the cost of borrowing money. It is the percentage of the average daily balance in your account. And an interest rate is applied to your outstanding balance on a monthly basis. So just be aware of that. Credit cards have different interest rates for different types of activities like purchases or cash advances. So you want to make sure you read the fine print. When it comes to fees, again, not all credit cards are the same. Different credit cards charge different types of fees. Some charge no fee at all, but just be aware of that. You want to make sure you read carefully all the fees that you're responsible for. And then lastly, it's going to be credit limit. And this is the maximum balance you can have on your credit card. It is determined by your lender and it's based on your credit history and your income. There are many types of credit cards. A great credit card for those who don't have any credit are called secured credit cards, and they function a lot like a traditional credit card. The primary difference is that with a secured card, you pay cash deposit up front to guarantee your credit line, while credit history may be used to determine eligibility for a secured card. The line of credit it offers requires a security deposit, and these cards are really great to establish good credit. Now we're going to talk a little bit deeper about the types of credit cards. There are a lot more types of credit cards than people are aware of. So there's those basic standard cards, and those are the most traditional types of credit cards. They allow you to spend up to your preset credit limit with no interest charge if you pay off the full balance. Again, full balance by the due date every month. There's also rewards credit cards. These are my favorites. They're either the cashback or the mileage cards. I have a mileage and I have a cashback card. I use them for different purposes. So my rewards ones, because I know that my mileage will get more points for hotels and stuff. I use it for travel. And then I use my cashback when I buy groceries or gas, because I know I'll get triple the points, or sometimes when they give you specials, it'll be like quadruple the points. So just being aware of use and what you're using them for and what's going to be most useful and getting the most positive credit. Those cards are similar to the standard, but again, it's going to reward you with travel points or cash back. and it's usually in the form of a statement credit. Balance transfer, these have low introductory interest rates to make it more attractive to transfer balances from other cards. Charge cards, they allow you to spend without limit, but you generally have to pay the full balance each month. So just it's basically like having cash in your wallet, in your purse or whatever, and just being aware of how much you're spending, because you have to pay the full amount or you can go into collection. Student credit cards are for students, usually for college students who are seeking to get their first card, and they usually have like a lower rate. Business credit cards, again, for business owners and employees, and they offer different specific business focused rewards. Secured credit cards, like I've talked about before, require cash security deposit, and that reduces risk for the credit card company. Limited purpose credit cards, which most of you have come into contact with at some point, and these are including things like store credit cards or gas cards that can be only used at that specific retail location. So these are going to have higher interest rates. Just be aware of that. You can only use them in one place, but just that's another type. And then as well as prepaid cards. And these aren't really considered true credit cards. You know, those Visa prepaid cards you can get at the supermarket. You have to load them with cash before you use them for purchases. Now we're going to talk about the origins of credit and what are FICO scores. So your credit report is what the nationwide consumer reporting agencies use to calculate your credit score. And it's used by lenders to determine your credit worthiness. And there's only 3 major nationwide consumer reporting agencies. That's going to be Equifax, TransUnion, Experian. These are all the ones that you're going to want to either set up an account with. I myself like Equifax. I feel like they offer a little bit more, and they allow you to check your credit score and check your credit report once a year. So that's free. Just be aware of that. FICO scores. So credit reports are used to generate a credit score. One of the most commonly used credit scoring formulas is Fair-Isaacs. That's also known as FICO. And your range can go from your range can be from 300, which is considered low, to 850, which is considered high. And these are nice little example of what a basic front page of a credit report is going to look like. It's going to give you the scores for each of your different nationwide consumers agencies, and then of course your information, and then a breakdown of delinquency and balances and payments and inquiries and all of these great things at the very bottom of your account history. It goes more in depth, so it's good to look at, be aware of, so you can check for anything that may be unusual. So how FICO scores work. So they're going to be looking at these 5 things. So that timeline of payments, debt, longevity, inquiries, and account mix, to decide how much they're going to give you point-wise. So timeline, so that accounts for about 35% of your score. This is a simple question of whether or not you pay your bills on time. So if payments are late, are they 30, 60, or 90 plus days late? How many accounts have been sent to collections? Have you had any bankruptcies or foreclosures? The more negative marks you have and the more severe, the more your score will be impacted. The amount of debt you have affects 30% of your score. So the credit bureaus are going to look at what's called your credit utilization ratio, and that's typically your score will be higher if you use no more than 30% of your credit, available credit. So if you have credit cards with combined limits, just make sure you're staying in that low percentage. Longevity or age of your credit counts for about 15% of your score. So how long have you had your accounts open on average? If you've been using credit for decades and doing so responsibly, you'll probably have a higher score than someone who has a very short credit history. And then inquiries. So that's going to be the number of recent credit applications you've submitted. That accounts for about 10% of your score. Now, if you apply for credit frequently, they're going to view you as a risk, which will lower your score. From a lender's perspective, people who seek new credit more often, they are just going to assume that you are suffering from cash flow problems, which is a big red flag for lenders. So it's a good idea to keep credit card accounts open, even if you're no longer using them. Just be aware of that. So, and then lastly is the account mix. So the mix of accounts you have contributes to about 10% as well. And this will include all the weird different types of loans you can have. So like auto loans, student loans, mortgages, credit cards, and any other type of credit. But the greater the variety, the better. So having that balance is going to be that balanced blend of credit over types over time actually is really going to help that score of yours. So I talked about a little bit about inquiries. There's hard inquiries or HPs, and then there's also soft inquiries. So hard inquiries are going to be a potential creditor assessing your credit report and score, and it's recorded on your report as a hard inquiry. Too many of these can show potential creditors that you are attempting to open more than one line of credit. Then they may choose not to loan money to you because of it. Soft, on the other hand, these occur when your credit report is reviewed when you're not looking to open new credit lines, and that can be things like whether or not you're just checking your own credit score, and it could be just lenders just evaluating whether or not they want to loan you money. And then lastly, there's a DP or a data point, and this is related to the information on your credit report. So things that are going to affect are going to be landlords who are running your credit checks when you apply to rent a property, or you assessing your own credit report for monitoring. These are going to be those data points that affect your credit score. So I just went into a little bit about good credit and the advantages of good credit. There are many aspects of life that are affected by credit ratings, so you really want to have the highest rating you can. And this is going to, again, determine whether a lender will approve you for a new loan or a large sum. It'll influence your interest rates and fees on loans. It's reviewed by some employers. So large corporations, some of them will look at your credit score before they offer you a job. They want to make sure you're responsible. They also are used by landlords when deciding to rent to you. They determine your student loan eligibility. They can be reviewed by insurance companies when you apply for insurance or homeowners insurance, car insurance, and they can lower your payments or your car loans, as well as get you a cell phone without a security deposit. So these are just things to think about when pursuing credit cards, when making payments, to really think about how we're spending our money. So again, good credit and bad credit. So having good credit means that you're making regular payments on time on each of your accounts until your balance is paid in full. Bad credit means you've had a hard time holding up your end of the bargain and you may not have paid the full minimum payments or not made payments on time. So the negative information generally stays in your credit report for at least 7 years, and that could be your late payments, bankruptcies, foreclosures, and collections. And bankruptcies can stay on your credit report for 10 years. So just being aware that, after those 7 years, yeah, some of those late payments might disappear, but the bankruptcies, collections, those are not going to look good and they're going to stay a little longer. But the good news is that bad credit can always be improved, and practicing good credit habit can raise a low score as well as help maintain a good score. Good credit tips. So these are some things that I think would be very positive ways of looking at your credit. And when you inquire about getting a credit card or getting a loan, you're going to always want to pay your bill on time. So if you're unable to do that, you can always speak with the lender, let them know the situation. They're a little more open to things if you are open with them. You want to keep your low balances on your credit cards. The higher it is, it's going to affect your credit score. Monitoring your credit report to ensure there aren't any mistakes is another one. And this one also not only is going to be something that affects your credit score, but you also want to be making sure that you're more aware of what is being put on your credit report. Avoiding too many credit inquiries, so just not continuously seeing a sale at some store and going, oh, well, they're going to give me a discount on my purchase if I get this credit card. Having that and doing it continuously is going to lessen your credit score. It's going to get lower and lower and lower, and it's not going to help you in any way. So just thinking about that as well. Having those different types of accounts, getting rid of negative information, which I will talk to you a little bit about in a little bit. Leaving old accounts open and keeping them active. Don't let your accounts end up in collections. That's a big, big one. And protect your finances, keeping financial records in order and always watching out for fraud and for scams. So again, Pay attention to your free yearly credit report. If you notice issues, you need to take care of it immediately. This is an example of a credit card that is good for people with no credit history. And it is a secured card, like I've said before. But this one's slightly different. This is the first company I've come across that does not require a security deposit. Instead, the card is backed by the money that is linked to an account. So they have a checking and savings account that's done, and then you can add money to that card at any time. The card won't let you spend any more than what's in the account. And when your payment is due, you can have the money taken from the account automatically, which makes sure that you're paying on time all the time. And in a way, it looks like it works kind of like a prepaid debit card, but unlike a prepaid, it helps you build your credit. And no credit check is required to apply for one of these types of cards. So this is a really good option for people with no credit history. The second slide is going to be about for people with bad credit history, and they're trying to build their credit up so they can get a higher score. And this one's again another type of secured card, and it's not only does it have like an annual fee of 0, which is really, really nice to see, but also gives rewards. So this one offers that 2% cash back, as well as, and that's going to be mostly on restaurants and gas, as well as 1% on all of your spending. But the great part is if you handle your account responsibly for 7 months, they will review your account for a possible upgrade to an unsecured card. So just working on upping making your payments on time, setting up for automatic, getting the cash back deals, but having the ability to gain that credit and get that credit going up, and then you can go into a unsecured card. Now, how do you remove bad credit? So first and foremost is submitting a dispute to the credit bureau. So federal law basically says that you that defines the type of information that can be listed on your credit report and how long. Okay, that's going to be generally 7 years. And it says that you have the right to an accurate credit report. And because of that provision, you can dispute errors with the credit bureau. It's easiest to be made online or via mail. To dispute mail, you have to write a letter describing the credit report, submit copies of any proof you have, and the credit bureau investigates your dispute with the business that provided the information, removes the entry if they find it to be an actual error. Sending a pay for delete offer to your creditor. You have to approach this accurately reported negative information differently. Credit bureaus won't remove accurate, verifiable information, so there's no point in disputing it. So you may have to negotiate to have some items removed from your credit report, and pay for delete offer is a technique you use with delinquent or past due accounts. In pay for delete negotiation, you offer to pay the account in full in exchange for having the negative details removed from your credit report. Some creditors will take you up on that offer, others will not. So just be aware of that. Making a goodwill request for deletion. With pay for delete, you can use money as the bargaining chip for getting negative information removed. If you've already paid the account, however, you don't have much negotiating power, right? At this point, you can ask for mercy by requesting a goodwill deletion, which is basically a letter to the creditor, and you might describe why you were late, state how you've been since such a great paying customer since, and ask that the account be reported more favorably. Again, creditors don't have to comply and some won't. On the other hand, some creditors will make those deletions if you talk to the right person. And lastly, wait out the credit reporting limit. And that's if all else fails, your only choice is to wait for those negative items to fall off your credit report naturally. So fortunately, the law only allows more negative information to be reported for 7 years. The exception is, again, bankruptcy, which can be reported up to 10 years. And the other good news is that negative information affects your credit score less as it gets older and as you replace it with positive information. The wait may not be as difficult as you think. So consumers can request their own credit report for free every 12 months from the 3 major reporting agencies. So you want to be sure you should request a report after the aging period to confirm that everything has been deleted. Can your credit be stolen? So that would be also known as signs of identity theft. So there's many signs of identity theft. And I mean, most people know what those things are going to be like if they see something that's questionable on their bank statement, if they get a questionable phone call or email. So I've listed a few. I'm not going to really go through them, but these are things that you want to be on the lookout for in order to not have your credit stolen. So, notifications from receiving calls from debt collectors, unexplained withdrawals, things of that sort. And then we're going to be talking lastly on what to do if you are a victim of identity theft. If you believe your information has been stolen and used fraudulently, it can be hard to know what to do and where to report it. So here are a few things to consider if you believe you are a victim of identity theft. Is contact that company or companies where the fraud may have occurred. That's straightforward, right? Number 2 is checking your credit report. So requesting copies of your credit report from all 3 of the nationwide credit bureaus, keeping an eye out for information that's inaccurate or incomplete or unfamiliar accounts that you start seeing. Again, you can get that free copy. You can go on annualcreditreport.com every 12 months. 3 is considering placing an initial 1-year fraud alert. So fraud alerts serve as a red flag to those who pull your credit report that you may be a victim of identity theft, and that encourages companies to take additional steps to verify your identity before granting credit in your name. Fraud alerts are free, and you only need to contact one of the 3 nationwide credit bureaus to have a fraud alert placed on your credit report, and they'll contact the other 2. So the bureau will actually contact the other 2. Number 4 is maybe considering a freeze or lock on your credit report. A lock and a security freeze have the same impact on your credit report, but they aren't the same thing. Both generally restrict certain access to your report unless you temporarily lift or permanently remove the security freeze or unlock your credit reports. They can't be accessed to open new accounts with certain exceptions. Number 5 is submitting an identity theft report. So the theft report can be submitted through the Federal Trade Commission online through identitytheft.gov. And reporting your theft online, you can receive an identity theft report and a recovery plan. If you create an account on the website, you can update your plan, track progress, receive letters to send to creditors. Filing a police report. This provides you with a document saying you've been a victim, which can be helpful when requesting a 7-year extended fraud alert on your credit reports, for instance. And this type of fraud alert requires police or FTC to identify theft, the identity theft report. And then 7, reporting certain types of identity thefts to special agencies. So this would be where you contact your health insurance company's fraud department or the Medicaid fraud office to report medical identity theft when someone gets medical care, medications in your name, or you report tax identity theft to the IRS and your state's Department of Taxation of Revenue. So this is going to be those extra little bits if you start noticing things like people taking out, either going to your doctor or submitting their taxes under your name, things like that. So just, being on the lookout for that. And lastly, again, monitoring your account, looking out for suspicious activity, including changes and charges you don't recognize. The FTC advises you to keep a record of the calls you make and the people you speak to when you are doing a identity theft report. Keeping copies of any letters you send or receive. It's also a good idea to keep a written record of any actions you take, such as closing accounts or disputing charges. And lastly, there are many ways to protect your identity. You do not need to be a computer guru to add security to your online presence. Electronic devices, online accounts contain a significant amount of personal information that, when combined, can lead to identity theft. So adding those secret questions, digital account access, make sure your antivirus or malware firewall software is up to date, creating passwords that are more complicated and changing them periodically, being careful with what you send in encrypted emails, enabling a 2-step or 2-factor authentication. This is one of my favorite methods, so easy to put in place. It adds an extra layer of security to your account in the event someone steals your password. Adding alerts to bank accounts and credit cards to notify you via text or email if a transaction over a set dollar amount reaches your account, and look for signs of fraud on emails. Never open emails, attachments, or click on links from invalidated sources. Screen your calls. Do not be a victim of telephone scams. So hopefully this has helped you guys kind of get a better idea of the importance of your credit. Good ways of making your credit, building your credit, keeping your credit steady, improving your credit, and keeping your credit identity, your identity safe. So hopefully it helps. Have a wonderful day, everybody.